What's going on, everybody? Gleez here, and today in this video we're going to review, spoiler free, the epic game, the epic story that is Final Fantasy VII Remake. Alright, so first up in this review, we're going to talk about the things that I thought the game handled well, and the first thing is the combat system. Now, the combat system, if you've played the demo, is relatively the same, but it does get more advanced as you move on and you gain more abilities. And the combo interaction with you as well as the other people in your party, as you start to understand it and get through the button clicks and understand how to actually interact well with each character against each different enemy, it rolls almost seamlessly. It's one of those things that takes a little bit of time to develop and understand, how to go about beating certain opponents, but the way that it's utilized is just so satisfying in this game. The way that the hits land, particularly with Cloud, the way that his sword can slice through opponents, and just the sound, the feedback of the way that his sword moves, it's heavy. I think that it really plays well to the dynamic of this combat system. Also, knowing how long certain moves take to animate and start up is key. So if I were to start a spell with a certain character or a limit, I know that I can switch off that character after I make that decision, and I can use another character in a way that I feel is most effective in that fight. The amount of control is really good, and it is a little bit cumbersome for people that aren't used to Final Fantasy games. I can see them having a little bit of a problem kind of grasping this and putting this into its full effectiveness, but it's great. Once you master it, it is awesome.
Do you think Biggs is on schedule?
All we can do is hope.
Today really gotta be the day, huh?
Ain't no stopping this train we're on, son. A lot of people risk their lives to get it rolling. Already put the word out, more's coming too. Shut them all down by today, or we shut another down for you. Ain't on us, not us. Play it cool.
So the next big plus for the game are the interaction with the characters. The voice acting is top notch. If anyone at Square Enix was like, maybe we'll cast this person, I don't know, maybe this person, you made the right choice. If it were down to the wire between any two voice actors, I'm telling you right now, all of these voice actors really nail it home for these characters. It seems like they have a very good understanding as to how the characters acted in the first game, and they were able to replicate that, with voice acting. And it's so awesome to see these characters that we've known for, 20 plus years just come, fully to life in this game. And it was just such an awesome experience to see these characters interact in a way that we never really got to see them interact, in the previous build of the game on PlayStation 1. And my two favorite characters from the game as far as voice acting goes, Barrett number 1, Cloud number 2. I love Barrett's enthusiasm. No one can get Barrett down, it seems. The only thing that really brings him down is his daughter Marlene and not being able to be with her, which is something that we knew, from the first game. But being able to see that and hear it in the voice of the voice actor coming through the character is just awesome. And Cloud is my second favorite character. And the way that they were able to portray him in the beginning and his character development as he begins to become more invested in what's going on with Avalanche and with the crew, I think that they nailed that. That was something that was extremely prevalent in the original game, and you can see that just his tone, his attitude, the way that he says things, you can see that evolution takes place from beginning, to the end of the remake. And I think that they nailed that. I thought they did that perfectly. One of the great aspects about all the different areas in the game are that these old scenes that we're used to have now come alive. You walk through a town and you hear all of these people talking. These NPCs that are around, they have so many things to say. I couldn't even imagine how long it took to go in and record all of these voice dialogues for hundreds of people scattered all over the place between all these different parts of Midgar. I think bringing the environments to life was absolutely nailed. They killed it in that respect. You absolutely cannot talk about Final Fantasy VII Remake and the things that it does well without talking about the music. The music in the original Final Fantasy is some of the best music of any video game ever made. And this game takes that music, puts a little more of a modern spin on it, introduces a few new instruments, but keeps the integrity of the original work. And I think they did a great job with it. It really embodies the moments in this game. The music is very fitting to the mood. I think they do a great job of taking music that fits for that particular moment in the game, and it meshes so well. I don't know if there's a game that does that any better than Final Fantasy, both the original and the remake. I also love the fact that the summon materia has its own slot. So you don't have to take up a materia slot where you could put something like fire or heal or, something like that. So on your actual weapon, it'll have a spot for your summon materia, which is great. I also like the way the summons work. So they don't work in a way where it's like you call on the summon, it does one thing, and then it's out. So you call the summon, it comes in, you have control over what the actual summon will do. You can use the 1 bar or 2 bars to get, even more damage. And I thought that they did a really good job with that. The animations on them are really good also. They really, encompass all of the things that you remember from the original game and just heighten it by like times 10. It's really cool. One underlooked positive thing, I think, is the assess materia. So I used it a lot. I was assessing everything. And I love the fact that you get a little bit of background, a little bit of lore, and it's also something that you can use and it'll help you in battle. So I can use the assess materia and understand how to attack a particular enemy. It also goes into your log and it allows for different things to be unlocked in the future, which we'll get to in the spoiler portion of the game. I think the boss battles were so good. They last long. They take these smaller battles that may have lasted, 2-3 minutes, maybe a little bit longer in the original game. And some of these boss battles toward the end of the game, I was fighting a boss for 45 minutes. That's how long I was fighting some of these bosses. It was super long, and it's challenging. There are some bosses I died on. All right, so it wasn't like I was just rolling through and just killing all these bosses, or it was just extended, an extended fight for no reason. These bosses were challenging, and I thought that that was really satisfying to put bosses in the game that not only are challenging, but they take very long to beat, and it's very satisfying when you get through those matches. And then you're able to, see the rest of the story, which is the ultimate payoff. So we're going to talk about some dislikes, and even though I think the game was amazing, if I had to rate it, I would rate it like a 9.5 out of 10. It was one of the best games I played in years. But the camera has got to go. It's awful. Sometimes I'll switch to a character and the camera is like facing the other way, or I go to attack a character or an opponent with a character and everything gets all messed up. It zooms in too close. I can't move it. Also, the right analog doesn't move the camera fast enough, I feel like. If I have the camera facing the wrong way, for me to roll it all the way back around and up to look at a character that's in the sky, it's totally going to take way too long. So that was like the biggest gripe that I had, was the camera. Also, speaking about looking at opponents in the air combat is not really fulfilling. I don't really like the way that it works. You only get like a couple hits while the opponent's in the air. Thankfully, there aren't a ton of air characters, like characters that flow through the air, but there are some. It is a little bit annoying. Barrett does a great job because he doesn't even have to leave the ground. He just blasts him with his gun. But overall, the air combat definitely could use some work. So when you lock on to a character, there is a targeting. So you can use the right analog to move the target. And I think it's just super sensitive, and you oftentimes can't get locked on to the particular part of the enemy that you want. So I feel like the targeting could use some work. And that was one of the more frustrating things that I went through, especially, again, like I said, against enemies where, you know, they'll have different parts. So you have a character and you have the main part, and then you have other parts that you can attack. And when you're trying to focus on like the main part or the side part, and oftentimes if you tap the right analog stick the wrong way, or if you turn away from the character and then turn back and it locks on to a different part, it was just really annoying trying to fight against that. Oftentimes I felt like one of the biggest challenges of the game was fighting the targeting system rather than the character that I'm fighting against. So that was kind of annoying. The pacing of the game I think could also use some work. Toward the middle of the game, I feel like it kind of lulled down and the pacing was rather slow, almost to the point where I just wanted to move along. I didn't want to do any of this side quests, or just like, I just need to move along because it's getting too boring. Some of the side quests also are very Grand Theft Auto-like, where it's you run from one dot to another dot, and then that person tells you something, and you run to the next dot, and then that person tells you something, and then you run to this dot, and then you get your reward. I don't really like that. I think the side quests are kind of dull, which is unfortunate because the full main game is actually amazing. I've never been so riveted by an ending of a game as I have Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to spoil anything in this video, but trust me when I tell you, you want to play through the game without being spoiled. You want to get to the end and have no idea what's going to happen and then fully enjoy it. I will, in a future video, go over my thoughts of the ending in a more spoiler type of fashion, but I wanted to keep this review as spoiler free as possible. If you like what I'm doing here, be sure to click that subscribe button so you get updated whenever I post new content, and don't forget to click the bell so you actually get the notification. Also, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of the Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm definitely interested to hear what you have to say. So as always, I want to thank you guys for checking in. It's Jay Gleez signing out, and continue to game strong.